Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of The X Button, Season 3, Episode 18. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the man whose name is the biggest enemy for the Spider-Man fandom now.
Paul. Hey, everybody. How is it going? That is... Not many people will understand that one, but...
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, when I read that, Paul, that... the latest shenanigans in the Spider-Man comics now included your name, I was in hysterics. But yeah. Moving on from that, I also want to welcome back a very special guest who joined us 3 or 4 episodes ago. It feels like a long time ago.
It feels like it was a while.
Yeah, the furry senpai for Destiny.
Yeah,
Duncan.
It's Duncan. It's Duchess. I'm back. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, with a really amazing. Is it a onesie?
Yes, it is. I'd show it off, but.
Yeah. But thanks to like the green screen effect, it kind of keeps like going in and out. But you can tell.
There we go.
There's a cat, like straight out of Super Mario 3D, like 3D World. How y'all both doing?
Work is done.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Legend of Zelda comes out tonight.
Yeah,
so
literally in 6 hours.
I'm real excited. I'm convinced I'm just going to stay up for like an extra hour or something tonight to get a little bit out of it before I have to go to bed. However, I've also confirmed I don't have to go into the office tomorrow. I just have to I have to put on some work stuff to have something to show for my work tomorrow. However, I can have some Legend of Zelda, maybe playing a little bit between that and just kind of working that through. Hopefully,
thank God for handheld mode.
Out. Yes, I mean, I'll really just be at like a table right behind my TV or in front of my TV. I could just kind of turn around and be like, all right, let me play for a couple minutes. All right, let me put it down and watch this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to bounce between the two a little bit here and there.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about that one in a little bit. But before we go into that, this is a reminder that this is the X Button Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing, available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links and the RSS feed at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/escape-gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And just a reminder that we recently passed 100 episodes last week, and that special episode ended up being like a full review / spoiler cast for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. If you have already finished Jedi Survivor and you want to hear me and Paul talk in depth about the story, or anything else about that game, you can go back and listen to episode 100, which got some little bumps thanks to it being a celebratory episode. So definitely you can listen to that. And I also went to our buddy Sebastian Malden's show, The Single Player Experience, to talk about Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores expansion. So that should be going live whenever he posts live, kind of like similar to when I did a deep dive of Jedi Fallen Order before Survivor. So I did one of those again. So definitely, if it's live by the time I post this, I'm going to link it. If not, I'm going to link it the week after. So enough of that. Paul, real quick with you. You kept playing Jedi Survivor, right?
That I did. I continued playing. Let me think. So I finished it, which of course I did last episode, but since then I continued really pushing through the attrition of trying to find all the collectibles. And the second you told me that all of the collectibles thankfully carry over, I got just like the last couple that I actually wanted, which were some colors for armor that I hadn't found yet. And then immediately started up a new campaign. Tried out the new perks that they added. Started off on hard mode, and just been having a ton of fun.
Yeah,
I learned right now. Some of the perks aren't as balanced as they probably should be.
In a good or bad way?
One way, not the best. The one hit kill and death mode, I thought would be a lot more fun, because that's like the entire thing with Devil May Cry and how fun it is.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like
wipe things out.
What is it, like Heaven or Hell or something like that?
Basically,
Devil May Cry?
So I thought it was going to be more like that. Unfortunately, this game is built more where a lot of enemies have range on you from the start, and some of them start off, especially because the other one boosts up the type of enemy it is. A lot of those have charge shots that come out very fast, and you can't see them
Until it's too late.
from a certain amount of time until the shot comes flying at you, so you don't know they were charging something. So it's just an instant kill, which sucks. And then it's kind of inconsistent on how some enemies just die. Even like the higher level enemies die in one hit. Some of them just don't. And it's not very clear which ones kind of die on which. I think it depends on like what kind of style you have and what attack you did. But it kind of really flubs all the damage numbers. And as I've learned recently, having been on the other side of that, damage numbers, and when you mess with any of that, it gets real wonky real fast. So yeah, it could have been better, but it's also a real fun challenge if you really hate yourself. Besides that, though, it's just really fun to run through actual New Game Plus with all of your stats and everything.
Speaking about hating myself, I platinumed Jedi Survivor. And
Yeah,
I did all of that in my main save. I didn't start New Game Plus. I learned after finishing and platinuming it that I could have started New Game Plus, and all my progression for like collectibles would have carried over, and that would have been so much better because I had to do so much endless backtracking and in such asinine ways that I told that I was breaking the game. I literally was like trying to clip myself through the environment to get like elevation to be able to dash to a place that I couldn't go back for some reason because there was like a collectible there that I forgot to pick up, but I was like just doing such insane crap, and then finishing up old trophies, which including having to deal with that stupid hologram chess thing that is in the cantina. That's RNG based. That at a certain point I just had to look up a video of someone teaching me that and just having to follow what anyone's strategy, and even then the guy was like, look, this strategy worked for me, but it's RNG, so it may take a couple times. I remember it was with the third game, it took me like 10 tries. Because the thing is that you have to like complete a couple of rounds, and if you lose one, you have to restart the whole thing. And there was this one that had like one animal and two like guys with hammers. That the trick was like you needed to leave like a rocket launcher guy to like the very edge and have like one of the big robots with the hammers to go attack and hope that the rocket launcher stormtrooper is not gonna have stormtrooper aim and actually gonna hit the rocket where it needs to hit, and that was gonna do it. And then the absolute nightmare that is once again trying to grow a garden in this game, which is there was another trophy about a garden in Fallen Order, but it was a much smaller garden. This one it's a way bigger, and you have to like fill up every single icon of that garden. And I had filled it up, and I kept like exiting and going back in, waiting for the thing to grow up. I was like, "Why is the trophy not popping? What am I missing?" And then I realized that there was like this hidden node in like one of the corners that didn't look like I could put a seed, but it was there. And then I was like, "Oh crap!" Put the seed, and then immediately the trophy popped and got my platinum trophy. And I was like, I managed to platinum this game within a week of the game actually coming out. That's actually record time for me, but it left me so exhausted that I didn't even touch New Game Plus. In fact, Paul, it probably finally burned me out of Star Wars. having done that.
Already. After everything else, you watched the entirety of the live action and most animated content for Star Wars, and this is your threshold?
That's what does it, huh?
Yeah.
That's what does it.
A garden.
Yeah, but that's what platinuming a game can sometimes do to you. But
you gotta stop platinuming stuff.
Yeah,
man.
I can't.
I don't think it's ever turned out right for you. It always is just like, I'm exhausted, it's done, time to move on to the next thing. I don't think platinum has ever been, at least for me, for sure, like an actually enjoyable process.
I mean, I've got 62 of them.
Yeah, I don't know why or how, but
yeah,
got like 5.
Yeah, it's just my completionist nature. That's been with me since I was like a wee lad. So, and in the games that I really love, I love doing that. So, I mean, I platinumed Jedi Fallen Order twice. So
it doesn't help that I actually watched the completionist video on Jedi Survivor because you were talking about it, and he was talking about how rough it is for a lot of stuff. It's just not built for completionists.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
That's the thing. Like, you get the platinum trophy without absolutely 100%ing this game, which I'm so thankful because there are hundreds of seeds, and hundreds of seeds that anyone that wants to just be 100% completion beyond just a platinum trophy, God bless you. That's just excessive because you get an upgrade to find all the seeds after you like grow 10 different plants in your garden, there's like a little robot that you can get the BD upgrade. That's not important for platinum completion. Once you get that upgrade and you open the map, I'm gonna screenshot it, Paul. I'm gonna send it to you. It's just imagine the entire map just literally with white dots everywhere, like if it's Assassin's Creed Unity, like that map from back then.
Oh, that doesn't sound good at all.
That does not.
I was feeling overwhelmed by just having the BD scan stuff, the memories, and the chests.
And now imagine layering on top of that all the seeds.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that was not part of the platinum. If that had been, I would have quit it there, because like this was already too much, especially because there was a point where I got all the collectibles and then I was missing one and I started going crazy. I was like, did I miss something? I started going to every map, and until I realized that the final missing pieces were in the freaking game room to do the hologram. Those were rewards for that. And there's my dog. I'm so thankful she didn't bark on episode 100. Thankfully, now of course she's barking. It's business as usual.
Now that's not a special occasion. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I still love Jedi Survivor, but it was like it definitely left me at a point of like, okay, I definitely got my fill for this. Time to shift gears. But before I talk a little bit about the game that I shifted gears for, Duncan, you started playing Octopath 2 because you got a Steam Deck.
Yes. I promised myself that I'd have to start playing more games for 2023, and step one of that was to not play games on my PC, which required something else.
Yes.
Originally, I was going to buy an Xbox, then I was like, well, all the Xbox games I want to play are also on PC. So I picked up a Steam Deck. And I played, and this does not sound like a lot of time to some people out there, but I put 10 hours into Octopath.
It's still a bit. It's
a lot of that's still a lot of time, but like I've got a full-time job. I've got technically 2 full-time jobs because I play Destiny way too much.
Yep.
Like just this week, I also put 18 hours into the other game I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, like 10 hours in, it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but like for the little time I have, that is tons.
Yeah. How's the game?
It actually plays very smoothly. It's a very traditional turn-based RPG. It's made the exact same way Octopath 1 was made, with hand-drawn backgrounds and then sprite characters for the overworld. And then whenever you actually get into the combat, it's basic turn-based. They actually have hand-drawn characters with animations. The enemy variety is a little lacking, at least for the parts of the game I'm in right now, compared to the first game. But there's huge enemy variety. They have more abilities this time around, because last time they had a pretty limited suite of abilities. But this time it's been much better.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't hear most of that thanks to take care of.
No, you're okay.
I was I was hoping that I would one day play the first Octopath Traveler, and then
it's on Game Pass.
Well, okay, hear me out first of all. Listen. And then I realized that I don't think I could ever play it, because there's something like so vast about the idea of like you have 8 separate storylines and characters that can weave in and out of each other's lives, and I was like, I think if I was within like the ages of 10 and 20, that would be freaking amazing for me. And something I'll be honest, I think it was Persona 5 that probably broke me at some point. I have 120 hours in that game. I'm on the final dungeon and I don't think I could ever finish it. I could just poured so much of my soul into that turn-based system.
So the good thing about Octopath, at least, is the only character story that matters is the first character you pick.
Okay.
That's the only one that matters.
Because
all the other ones
are kind of join it.
Correct.
Okay, I gotcha.
So you don't have to do the optional stories. And you can only have 4 characters in your party anyway, your main character plus 3 more. But everyone can dual job, so you can have Like, because right now my party is set up where I picked the thief first. I picked Throne A first. Her secondary job is inventor, which lets her like have these really cool gadgets that are like combat tricks that are really fun. And then I have the cleric, who's subclassing scholar, which is basically your basic black mage and white mage just in one. I have the hunter dual classing as the merchant, which sounds weird, but the merchant has access to like these absolutely bananas, like the apothecary has access to these absolutely crazy axe abilities that make no sense for an apothecary to have, but like it's fun. And
they
then
heal people, but
Yeah.
I mean, they heal people, but
Duchess, are you interested in playing the Final Fantasy, like the pixel remasters that just came out? Obviously, those were on PC already, but they just came out on PS4 and Switch. Because Octopath is kind of similar in that style,
yeah,
right? So,
it is. Octopath very heavily draws from the style of those games. Just Octopath has. So the big thing about Octopath, as well as Bravely Default that came out later or before it, they have matte paintings for backgrounds,
which is so nice.
like they're so pretty. And yeah, no, like it's the first game, is a lot less detailed than the second game is. And that's kind of the problem I have. Not problem, but that's why I'm not as interested in the pixel remakes, because they are fun. Don't get me wrong, I've played them before.
Yeah.
They're just
if you played them before, yeah, you just played them before. Then what?
Yeah.
So because I've heard that Octopath is the closest analog to like Final Fantasy VI, which everyone says is the greatest Final Fantasy game ever made. So, and I know that's like $18 individually, because I know $75 for all 6 of them, like as an entire bundle. And obviously, because there's many pressing things happening with time around this period, especially with the summer. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely gonna be for like a way later, like dry spell. But yeah, I've just been hearing really good. I had been hearing really good things about Octopath in that kind of style. Yeah, seems that you're proving the things that are correct. So
no, it's a really fun game, especially for like those classic RPGs. It's just. It is a time sink. Like, you have to put time into it. Because something that this game does that the first game didn't is the chapters are much farther apart, like level-wise. Because in the first game, like, you could get through chapter 1 through 4, which is half your character's story, before you hit level 20.
Damn.
Right now, I'm on chapter 3 for my main character, and the minimum level requirement is 30.
Oof. Yeah, that's definitely a bigger time sink then.
Yeah, like there's a huge difference now.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, eventually one day maybe the mood will hit. It will probably hit PlayStation Extra, because it's a Square Enix game, and we know that Sony and Square Enix like sharing those games there in those services. So maybe that's when I'm gonna try it. But more pressing stuff now. Paul, you haven't played anything else, right?
No, I've literally only been playing Jedi Survivor, and then like turning on Destiny long enough to go to Xur or buy the latest shaders.
Yeah, I literally just turned the game in, get this, make sure I got the scout that comes with like that quote unquote god roll, the Send moment.
Traxaposis.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get that specifically?
You complete like an initial quest by Eva Levante, right?
Yeah. So you do the first quest for Ava, and you get a title, and then she gives you a second quest that's like, hey, go play in the competitive playlist and get a score. Or go play in the practice of the competitive playlist and get a score. And if you... Then, like, it basically walks you through the steps of doing, like, 100K, 120, 150, and then 200K. But if you get 200K, like, immediately, it just auto-completes the whole thing. And then you just go talk to Zavala, and he gives you a Traxapose with
Zen Moment
and Explosive.
And Kill Clip, if you want to, like, switch it. So
yeah.
And
now I gotta go play Destiny.
Yeah. and then my thing is that I know that hatchling drops in that scout, but my thing is I'm at that point. I mentioned it a couple episodes ago that I'm done with the season, especially I'm done with the game after just how absolutely just broken it just continues to be. Like what happened this week, the whole we're gonna patch up the slug shotgun bug by adding a 2-second timer every time that you switch a weapon from inventory now, which is like weapons. For all your weapons,
now,
including
that's
golden
what
gun.
I didn't quite understand. Like, so they're just making it longer for you to be able to switch weapons? So
the way the bug worked is basically the game wouldn't properly register that you switched from a slug shotgun to a regular shotgun, so it would apply slug shotgun damage to your pellet shotgun.
Oh no.
And slug shotgun is hard.
Slug shotguns hit like freight trains.
Mm-hmm. And they were doing that with the Fourth Horseman.
Because the Fourth Horseman can unload its entire clip in half a second. Yeah,
it's like super quick. And at a time where in Destiny we have something like the Winter Bite that is just completely melting bosses left and right. It's insane the things that are the priority for Bungie, to the point that them adding that was like, it absolutely makes the game feel worse. Because imagine if you're like using like an auto rifle and you want to switch to like a scout rifle in your primary slot at the moment, then when you get out the menu, you have to wait 2 seconds before you can start shooting. And it sounds like it's little time, but it sucks, because before you could start shooting a gun before like the weapon started fully loading, and it just feels like Bungie being fun police again.
Yeah, like it also affects Golden Gun.
Yeah, which is another
annoying.
Yeah, because there was already a delay with Golden Gun, and now it's even worse.
Yep. It's so bad.
Yeah, like there was a new preview for the next season, and I'm like, with new content and all that, that's when I'm gonna go back in. But they lost me this season after, especially because
I told you the joke yesterday that like I can't wait for 2 weeks to find out what Season of the Deep's gonna be about.
Yeah.
By the way, audience, Season of the Deep comes out in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
I really liked that, because I feel like not enough people responded to that with understanding. And me, who's been lurking lately, was just like giggling in the back, like, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of fun we're getting in our clan is like one of our guys. Like, I know he's been running the Starfire Protocol build, and
he just got Starfire 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and he just learned about the whole like tick damage that can like get all your infinite grenades and all that, and that's getting slapped into the ground like massively. So no more Starfire Protocol mains going forward. But yeah, in 2 weeks I'm definitely gonna be trying the new season, but a new game may probably still be sucking my time there. But the other game that I've been playing, with Tears of the Kingdom releasing literally today, I was like, what am I in the mood for? Okay, I need to get back into the Zelda mood, but I am not gonna go touch Skyward Sword. I don't want to touch Breath of the Wild, because that game is already looks so similar in my eyes. I learned that it actually looks better than Breath of the Wild by Digital Foundry. But it was like, it's kind of like in that same vibe. I don't want to start like playing that. So I had to dust off my Wii, because I don't have a Wii U. Get my, do I have it here? Yes. My original.
Nope.
Crap. There you go.
Nope.
There
it goes.
Yes.
Oh, it's gone again.
It's a stupid green screen. So yeah, my original copy of Wind Waker. And Paul saw my initial heartbreak. My Wii wasn't reading discs. Remember that, Paul? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I've been trying to replay Wind Waker for a long time. I never got the Wii U, so I never got the HD version, but I only beat it once back in GameCube, and I inserted my disc, and my Wii wasn't reading this, and I started like going mental. I was like, no way. No, it's like my Wii has been working all this time. Like I have like all my GameCube games that I could still play. I had to buy like an HDMI adapter like 2 years ago to be able to play that on newer TVs. I was like, I'm not gonna do this, and I had to like go online and be like, troubleshoot, what happens if like the disc is not it's not working on Wii? And apparently the trick is that you leave the disc inside, turn the console completely off, have the console turn on with the disc inside, which usually that would be perilous, but on Wii, because it's the Wii, it actually works. And that's how I detect that my disc worked. And it definitely sounds like my Wii sounds like a freight train sometimes, like reading the disc, but it was running the game also. I was playing Wind Waker, and I'm having an interesting time replaying Wind Waker right now because, for the most part, it holds up really well. The GameCube's version, especially like visually, even though it's like low res, and I'm like up-resing, I'm forcing the console to up-res to an HDMI through HDMI to my TV. I'm surprised how much the visual style of that game really holds up in its colors and like the character expressions and all that. Especially because I've seen the HD version of the Wii U version, and that version is really pretty because they increased they improved lighting in that one, and some character models look hideous, but in a funny way because it's cartoony. That there's like this stupid fish that you feed him food while you're like sailing around. Then he jumps to paint the map. Yeah, so it's like some of the things like, oh yeah, this looks like kind of horrifying, but it's still kind of cute because it's cel shading, and it's like I'm so glad that visually that the charm of that game is still like it still holds up so well. Like the music that plays when you're like swimming like sailing around with your boat with the seagulls like running with you. It's like there's like, especially knowing that the only other game that's gave me this kind of experience is Black Flag, and Black Flag is just more of a pirates game. Like the whimsical is still very strong in this game. I did not remember how poorly paced this game is, and how little actually happens, and then you realize that the reason why this game feels so grand is because so much of your time you're sailing. And how often it's like, okay, and I gotta go west. Time to put the Wind Waker up, left, right, and move the wind, turn around, and you go there. And then the limited inventory space that you sometimes have, so constantly having to go to start and put the new different items. So it's like it makes me realize that it's definitely a more slow playing game than I remembered. But I remember it being like this such grand adventure. But then I was like, oh, I remember taking forever back in 2003 when I played this to do the first 2 dungeons and the Tower of the Gods or things like that, and realizing how quick that goes. And then now I'm at the point where you have to get the 2 dungeons that unlock the full power of the Master Sword, and I already got the quest for the 8 pieces of the Triforce, the legendary, awful, super extended Triforce quest. And
we were willing as kids to just waste so much time. Like, what if I just boated from one side of the map to the other for the fun of it? Let me use 3 hours of my time to do this.
Oh, yes.
And then it's just like the random stuff you'll do. Let me just spend an hour throwing these pigs around. That's all I need to do.
Because there's a certain charm to it, and the writing is exceptional. I'll say that. It's like some of the writing that Nintendo had for this game, I was like, man, this was written in 2003. This is like very sharp, like very like late 2000s, kind of smart writing. I didn't remember it being like that, but also I wasn't as good with English as I am now. And one of the things I was telling you, Paul, in our chat is that I was learning more about this game that I didn't give myself credit for, because I remember the first time I got stumped back then, and because I wasn't using guides, was how to enter the Wind and the Earth Temple, because those things were blocked. Like to enter the Wind Temple, you need to find the Iron Boots, which to find them, if you are diligent and keep feeding the stupid fish that paints the map, then the fish gives you a hint and be like, hey, if you want to enter this temple, go 5 squares south and then go 1 square to the right, and then you're gonna see an island where there's a special treasure that's gonna give you that. I didn't know that because I wasn't feeding fish back then, because I sort of understood English in 2003, but not like I do now. So I was skipping most of the dialogue. But that game actually, like, kind of like I was telling you, when I went back to Ocarina of Time and tried to like holistically see how the game signposts you how to go to certain places without a guide, and realizing that those games actually guide you more often than not, but it's still not just handhold you entirely. So learning that now, I was like, if I had been really smart back then and actually understand what the King of Red Lions told me, it's like, because the King of Red Lions is your Navi in this game. You just talk to that, and he literally tells you what to do.
He's just so much more chill about everything. Yeah. He's not annoying.
He's not overbearing. He's definitely not overbearing. So
I think to your point, though, I agree, because there were whole points of the game where I refused to feed the fish because I didn't want to spend the money for the fish food.
Yeah.
And because I just felt like I needed that money for other things, so I just go
and
with
the thing is,
my map not even being filled.
Here's the thing, you do, because the Triforce quest in the GameCube version means that you have to find 8 of those, and to decode each one of those is 397 rupees. obviously, like if you're diligent of not spending money, and I feel there's a way to like not spend much money as you go through that game. Like I'm at like 2,000 rupees right now because you can find 2 wallet upgrades that can keep you all the way to 5,000 rupees. But to be able to find a lot of those rupees, you have to like use the bow, try to use the grappling hook, that not quite the grappling hook, the rope that you get at the Rooster Island that allows you to swing around, and that's how you can find a lot of money if you're just exploring around. And that's what I'm noticing. That's the majority of the time playing this game. And there is something cool about like sometimes, because this game eventually just like throws off the leash and be like, we already taught you the mechanics and the flow of you finding stuff. That's how now. Jesus always taught you to find the 8 pieces of the Hero of Time to be able to go to the final part. I'm having a weird psychological warfare in my mind with this game because I know that there's a version of this game, the HD version, that significantly pared back that final quest, added enough quality of life. In fact, I learned that after you finish the first dungeon on the Wii U version, you can go buy a sailboat called the Swift Sail that you can like sail around without having to constantly move the wind around. Just the fact that having to move around is like you constantly have to be using the Wind Waker to reshift the wind to be able to just sail around. It's kind of insane. And knowing that they actually did fix that, and knowing that that game is stranded on the Wii U, and Nintendo just effing refuses to give me that game on Switch, it's just been like And this is the reason why I've been holding. Yeah, it's like this is the reason why I've been like holding off from playing, because I love this game. Like I feel like my memories of this game, I realized, oh yeah, I remember. Man, that Zelda reveal, huh? Like who actually Princess Zelda is, like what Hyrule is, like those things are burned in my mind. It's like the Wind Waker story is like one of the coolest in all of Zelda, and actually kind of tragic when you think about it. Is that these islands are just like the mountains of a land long lost to like a great flood, and so he deals with that while still being like a very charming game. And at this point, I don't know if I'm gonna beat it because we have the new one coming out today. But it was like a nice reminder to see like how great this game is in most spots. But that GameCube version definitely shows his age design wise. Nowadays, knowing that Nintendo actually went and fixed it, and one day I know Nintendo, just like they did with Metroid Prime Remastered, which I'm gonna go talk about that game over at my buddy Sebastian's show sometime in the future. Also, maybe one day they'll surprise me with one of those directs. Here's the remasters that we know they have them. We've heard these many reports. So I'll still forever remain salty that I woke up at 6 a.m. one day to see a direct where we were told those games were going to be announced. Me and Paul did, and we didn't get that. And then we got the title reveal for the new one, and we didn't care because we were so salty. So Duncan, the reason why I brought you in here is because you're the only one I know that's a friend of mine that actually has played Redfall to completion. Yep. Last week's episode, we sort of mentioned Redfall with Paul because we're just focusing on Jedi Survivor. We had mentioned that game was getting a critical slugging that I had never seen from like a big exclusive AAA game like in years. It's like the worst review, one of the 15 worst reviewed games on Steam ever. It's the worst reviewed game in Metacritic, like collectively from critics and reviews for a high profile game, because obviously there's a bunch of trash like from Steam and all that, but like from an actual first party, like this is like an actual exclusive for Xbox. And I played it a little bit. I actually sent you a clip.
You played for like an hour?
Yes,
I think.
Yeah, I played for like an hour, and I was like, I can't do this because I was playing it on Xbox Series S. The game looked like a 360 game. Like, shockingly, I was like, what happened here? The controls were atrocious. In fact, like, this is one of the first times that for a game to feel good, I usually like leaving everything at its default because that's what the developers intend the game to be played. I have a weird psychology of like going to tweak sensitivity settings and all that, but the only way to make this game feel good on console was they apparently had like a latency option, like default, low, high.
Yeah, they had an input latency option.
Yeah, and I'm like, why is this a thing? Why didn't they just put like the best latency possible? So you have to put it in low and then adjust the sensitivity for it to feel like a proper shooter. And even then I was like, the shooting of this doesn't feel as good. Like because I had the memory of Deathloop in console. Now I'm leaving because you played it on PC, so I know that version definitely better. And fighting vampires and playing daylight, it's like, okay, so they're taking the Edward Cullen style of idea for vampires that you're gonna be seeing all this ones outside.
they had a weird universe reason for it. It still doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But there's a weird in-universe reason for it.
The lack of any meaningful cutscenes and storytelling other than just like audio logs and just like in-game dialogue. Sometimes I was like, man, this is like, what happened? And
the choices to make all of the cutscenes basically slideshows with like audio over them was interesting.
I would go far as say it was bad decision because even then
how much they focused on those fully rendered cutscenes
and the marketing
for the trailers, marketing.
Plus, like every other, so remember this is Arcane Austin. This is the same group that did Prey, and like Prey had, I mean, they only had a couple cutscenes, but they were all rendered in game. Like they were fully rendered in game.
Yeah, with like the black bars and just staring.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas these are like literally like it's not an exaggeration when I say they are actually just slideshows.
Yeah, especially when
audio.
Especially when you go back to Deathloop, that didn't quite have cutscenes either, but like it had actual animated.
The cutscenes in Deathloop were more like Doom and Doom Eternal, where they're in-game set pieces.
BioShock. Especially.
Yes, but there was also the cartoony one. Sometimes when you had a breakthrough of like finding out some of like the things, it had like that 1960s style, like with like the soundtrack and like the cool visuals. Yeah, in Fallout, exactly. So they at least had that in production values. Like I don't know what happened to the production value here, but I only played an hour. I said I was like, I'm gonna wait for the 60 frames patch. Maybe by then they're gonna fix the T-posts and vampires. That the clip that I showed you, that's amazing. That I had that vampire staring at me and then just clipping back and forth like like a contortionist. I was like, yeah. It's like there's some fun to be had. There's like the stick when you can stick a vampire with one of the rifles you have. I feel there's a nice oomph to that. But man, it's like I quickly deleted. I was like, man, it's like this. The week before, I was like, I hope this is a win, and I have expected a bigger L for them. But you did finish playing it, so I want to hear more like this. You enjoyed it enough to see it through to the end, which I heard is not that long. So
no, so like I said, it's only about 17 hours plus minus a little bit. The first half of the game is the longest section. I think that was about 9 hours, and then the rest of the game is literally so. This is a problem that only really exists in arcane games, so I call it the arcane snowball. What that is basically once you hit a certain point in the story, it doesn't feel right to stop. You just have to keep going. And like I actually wrote this out because I actually was curious. So there's 10 missions before you finish Act 1.
Okay.
Then you do about 5 missions before you take out the first vampire god in Act 2. Then you do 3 more missions and do the second one. Then you have 2 more missions and that's the end of the game.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
So they had that big slog of 10 missions initially before like things start like really happening in mainline.
Correct.
Oof. Yikes.
So the second half of the game is much shorter than the first. However, it's the Dying Light kind of gameplay where Act 1 is in a relatively contained area to let you get used to all of the mechanics and everything, because by the time you leave Act 1, you'll probably be around a level like 10 or 11, so you have at least all of your base abilities unlocked. You've got a couple perks going, so you have a comfortable way to play your character.
Yeah. Which, by the way, which character do you pick from the 4?
I played Dev. He's the one that has like the little translocate disc, the lightning javelin, and the UV lamp.
It's the third one, right? I think it's like from the first release. I think that's the third one. Or
because I think it's Jacob, Layla, then Dev, and then Remy.
Yeah. I tried Layla because she had that. Apparently, she had that ability that can give you a version of the lift from Dishonored games that allow you to like go up. I was like, well, it's like a bunch of these characters are like set under a power, so let me see the one that remind me a little bit of my favorite abilities from both Dishonored games and even Deathloop, and it was her, but it was different. It definitely felt different.
So the way that the characters seem to be designed is that like Jacob is intended to be like your heavy hitting like character. He has a cloak ability that lets you kind of stealth around. He has a scouting ability that lets you mark enemies. And then his ultimate ability is basically a one-shot kill sniper rifle. that like can track and that can tag enemies like just by ADSing. Then you have Layla, who's kind of like a semi-support. Like she has the umbrella that lets you block bullets and then absorb them and shoot them back as damage. You have the lift, and then her super is the ex-vampire boyfriend, which is really underwhelming. I will be honest. I'm sure like once it's fully leveled up, it's awesome. But like the little bit I tinkered with it, it was super underwhelming. And then the vendor, Dev, is probably the most universally usable character. Because he has 2 support abilities with Translocate and the UV lamp. And then he has a really strong damage ability with Lightning Javelin.
I've seen that one. It's kind of peer.
Yeah, and then Remy is basically a support character through and through. Remy has the little like robot companion that can shoot enemies or distract them. Her ultimate is like almost like a well of radiance from Destiny. Like it lets you automatically picks up your allies if they're downed. It heals them to full health. It gives them a damage reduction. It gives them a small damage boost. And then I forget what her other ability is, but it's not worth remembering apparently.
Yeah, and remember you mentioned allies. You played a few games with our clan members. I remember.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, were you the main account, or did you join another one? Because there's like no, it's just individual progression, and everyone else like has to keep working the thing.
On the first day, because I was the farthest behind, we actually joined on me and we played a few missions together. And then I very quickly outpaced everyone because everyone else was playing on console. And everyone else was having problems with the game, except for me.
Paul, go to the Redfall chat. You'll see many T-pose, some great T-pose in our Discord.
Stop looking after a little while because it didn't like apply to me. But every once in a while, I was looking up like all of the absolute dunking on that game.
Yeah, and like the game is genuinely really fun. Like the movement is very smooth. At least on PC. The gunplay actually feels a lot like Deathloop. Except the only thing is Deathloop had a larger like variety of weapons, and each weapon kind of felt a little bit unique. Whereas like in this game, like the only weapons that feel genuinely special are the gold weapons, unrivaled, unique weapons, I've been calling them. Because they're all named. They all have names. They're not just like, oh, Firebird assault rifle or whatever. Like, I have a rifle called Grave Mistake, and it's like it looks like an M14, but decorated in like bones and a spine. It has a human skull on the front of it.
Does it have anything special other than the looks and maybe better stats?
What it does is with that one, the one I have, the one I kept. Because each unique weapon has a unique ability and then 2 random perks. The unique ability for Grave Mistake is that whenever you stake a vampire, you get back 15% of your health. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is.
Grave Mistake. That's good.
Yep, it's called the Grave Mistake.
Gosh, I hate how easy it is to make me chuckle.
Yeah.
It's all about the puns, huh?
And then, like, I found a handgun that shoots UV bullets, so you don't have to stake vampires to kill them. You can just shoot them.
Okay, that actually sounds nice.
And like one of the ones I found does 50% bonus damage on criticals and reloads 50% faster. Because that's the 2 downsides to this pistol: is it doesn't do a lot of damage and it's slow as hell to reload.
But you gotta have a trade back. If you can just kill vampires, just like nothing.
But now what I can do, because like I've played enough of the game, I've gotten used to it. You can, because you can still shoot while you're sliding. So what I've been doing, you can do
that in Deathloop also.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is, because sliding acts as if you're crouched for the aiming reticle, it makes it super tiny, especially for a handgun. So I could just slide around, like sprint and slide with this handgun, shooting vampires in the head, instantly killing them because of the crit damage, and just like moving on my way, which is definitely not how this game should be played, but it makes it way funner.
Yeah. And that's a problem like, with the game. It's like, what is the right way to play this game? Because you can't play this like an arcane game. It's like it doesn't have the intricate level design to be able to like enter places like you could in a Dishonored game. Sometimes you could enter something you feel like, did I break things or am I supposed to be here?
So this game has a Deathloop-esque problem where the game is too big for its own good. The play it your way style of gameplay that Arcane kind of embraces is kind of broken by this game because the easiest way to play it is being the most aggressive person possible. Because you're on, at least on lower difficulties, playing it on the highest difficulty is still pretty easy, to be honest, but you just take crap loads of damage. Like I get one shot constantly in the highest difficulty, but like on the normal difficulty, I can slide around everywhere like a madman, shooting everyone in the face just while sliding. You can do that too on the highest difficulty. You just got to be a little more careful. But like, it's, for being a game about killing vampires, you also just end up killing a lot of dudes with guns.
And like the AI and those gun dudes, I've seen like, oh my god, it's bad. I have never seen it. Paul, you remember how bad the AI in Deathloop was? Like initially, 10 times worse. 10 times worse. It's so bad. 10 times worse than the one in Deathloop.
I did actually see some gameplay of like a high level boss just kind of floating around shouting at you while you shoot them.
Yeah. Like, so the enemies are either, so you have you deal with 3 different types of cult members, and then you deal with a paramilitary group that also has 3 different types of members in it, but they function a little bit differently. With the cult members, you have like your standard cultists, they'll either have a shotgun or an assault rifle. You have a guy with a blowhorn or an air horn, which will either have a pistol or a shotgun, but he'll use his air horn as soon as he's alerted to call other cultists. Bullhorn, sorry. And then you have a sniper cultist. And the sniper cultists are really annoying, but they're also the easiest ones to kill because they have no armor. And the paramilitary guys, you have 2 different types of operators. And then you have an engineer. And the engineers are incredibly frustrating because they'll drop a turret. And the turret only dies in like a couple of hits. The turrets aren't very strong.
I remember turrets in Deathloop
will mow you down.
Yeah, those turrets were annoying AF on
like
Deathloop.
As soon as the turrets spot you, they never miss.
Yeah.
Because at least with the dudes, they'll miss. Like, and I don't know if that's like the standard first-person shooter, like industry standard thing where like if you've ever played a first-person shooter, if you're not looking at an enemy the first time you get shot by them, you take reduced damage. And because you can't see most enemies in this game until they're shooting at you, you always take reduced damage. Except for turrets. For some reason, turrets do not do reduced damage. They just shred you.
Yeah. And somehow with all these problems, you still kept playing.
I love this game. This game is so much fun. Look, there's definitely problems with the game. The boss fights are really underwhelming for what they're supposed to be. Because the basic idea behind them is you break into the vampire gods like little mini pocket dimension where like it's their mind, and then you kill them there, and then you collect like a memento from the boss fight. The problem is all of them except for the very last one are just bullet sponges. You just shoot them until they stop moving. The boss fights themselves are a little underwhelming. I could definitely see how they could be fun.
Maybe when they fix the game.
Maybe. But whenever I have a weapon that does a base like 7,000 damage on a regular hit, and these bosses only have like 20,000 HP, boss fights are trivial.
Oof, yeah. And I've seen the videos of like some of those boss fights that have like shields in them, and then you just go inside the shield. Yeah, and nothing happens, and you keep just wailing at an enemy. It's just like this game currently has a 54 on Metacritic. Do you refute?
Surprise me.
You don't refute the fact that it's that low.
Like, I'll say this: on PC, the game runs a lot smoother than I expected it to. and it for what everyone's been saying about it for Xbox, and I've encountered far less bugs than our friends have.
Yeah, when they were playing with you, they were crashing constantly. Paul, do you find the image of the double T-pose character that just put in the chat?
I saw it.
Oh man.
Also, that was fun. But they just released a hot fix on the 8th, a small hot fix, mind you. It's not like huge, but like a lot of those problems that I was having were like mission timers wouldn't go away after a mission expired, or like whenever you complete a mission, on the side of the screen, like a mission completion screen will pop up, and you're supposed to like just hold a button to make it go away.
It would never go away.
Sometimes they would just never go away. That doesn't happen anymore. I encountered a really funny bug that, like, because of the amount of times I was sprinting and sliding and shooting, every once in a while, like, my guns would just get stuck in the downer position while my character was walking. Like, and they would still shoot and everything, but it would just be stuck like this. It was very funny.
Yeah. And you paid the $70, right? You didn't even play this on Game Pass.
No, Game Pass doesn't work for me. I bought this game.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean,
you did find, at least you got to find fun with all that BS.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Oh god, yeah. And like, I'm currently a new game. Like, so the biggest annoyance that I have with this game, and apparently this is a feature, not a bug. Once you finish the game and watch the credits, the game automatically restarts.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it automatically new game pluses you without you being able to like go finish your entire world without giving you the option to do one to start.
It just forces you into doing it. But apparently
that sounds like how No Man's Sky ends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So on the Redfall subreddit, someone tried to skip the credits, but the game didn't reset.
So they stuck in the main world.
Stuck in a Redfall that the sun is out, but they can't do anything because all your weapons are disabled and the map is disabled after you beat the last boss. Because what you're supposed to do, what it's supposed to do, is you go and beat the last boss and you come out of their realm in a tunnel, and you're literally supposed to walk to the end of the tunnel into the sunlight. And that's where the game ends. Well, apparently this person did that, skipped the credits, and the game just never reset, so they're stuck.
That's
permanent.
Incredible. That's like, this is definitely this generation's Fallout 76.
It seriously is.
Incredible that this happened again from the same publisher, which is Bethesda, but a different developer.
Totally different everything, and it's so messed up.
Man, it's funny in a way. It also makes me incredibly sad. It's like just super sad that even though I cooled off on Deathloop, Paul and I really liked it initially. I think Paul still likes it a little bit more.
Give it a few months and then pick it up off Game Pass. Just try it out again.
They're saying that in a few weeks, 60 frames patch is gonna come in. Like what it should have been.
I don't think that's gonna fix it.
That's the thing. Everyone was saying like, so many of the reviews were like, "Oh yeah, this the 30 frames lock on console is like the least of this game's problems." To me, at the very least, like I would hope that at 60 frames, that on controller at least it would feel fine. Paul, you have to feel that. Just download it.
I refuse.
Feel it. Just feel out of the controller.
We are within like 6 hours.
5 hours now. 5 hours now.
Yeah. I will say. Tears of the Kingdom. So there's a special type of enemy called a rook that you're supposed to fight. It's supposed to be like this challenge. Like that's how it's presented in the trailers. That's how it's presented in the game. But let me tell you, rooks are loot pinatas.
Oh, it's one of those. You kill him, then he just explodes with like a million loot. Like
not exactly. So what happened is I got a stake launcher that deals 7,000 damage on a regular hit. Two things. Stake launchers automatically, like, you don't have to stake vampires that have been hit by a stake launcher. They just die. And rooks only have 5,000 health.
Wow.
So the way that what's supposed to happen is as you complete missions, side quests, you let bullhorn cultists alert people, stuff like that. This rook storm meter goes up, and the rook is supposed to be like this really hard enemy that's going to be a really hard trouble to fight. Like, it's going to take a lot of resources to kill it. It doesn't. Because you lightning javelin it stuns him, and then you shoot him in the face with a stake launcher, and he's dead. And then he gets free gold. You get free gold weapons out of it. So, oops.
So basically, this is the Anthem situation of someone trying to do looter and doing a horrible job of understanding loops and balance and how to properly do a looter shooter. So
yeah, I'll be honest with you. Before I got that stake launcher, rooks were hard, and they took a lot of they took some damage to kill. They don't anymore. Even on the highest difficulty, they're a joke.
That's the worst thing you could ever do, with a looter shooter, mess up the balance so bad that either an enemy is too hard and it becomes too spongy that it's just not fun, kind of like the New Muna people over there in Destiny, Paul.
The yellow bars in New Muna.
The yellow bar, too much. And but then getting you something that completely trivializes the rest of the game is why would you get another weapon if you're just completely eliminating everyone like that? So this is why you don't do looter shooters anymore, people. Just leave the people that already nailed it. It's no new entry in the genre is ever good now.
It probably wouldn't be as bad if the fact that there weren't 3. Okay, so you have pistols, assault rifles, shotguns, a UV gun, and a stake gun. So you have 5 different types of weapons. The UV and the stake launcher only have 2 variants, whereas every other gun is 3 different variants. There's such a small, limited loot pool that, I don't think that, the only way to fix it is if killing a vampire, especially a high-level vampire, just didn't give you a reward, is the only way you could fix that.
And then you do that, and
that's the wrong answer.
Yeah, exactly, because you do that, and then what's the point of it being a looter? Because you beat high-level bosses for the rewards of better gear.
Yep.
And it's I don't understand. I absolutely do not understand what happened. I absolutely do not understand what possessed Arcane to do this kind of game. Obviously, we've heard through the grapevine that this game apparently started development around the time that Prey ended, after they did Mooncrash 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago.
I think they wanted to make something akin to Deathloop, but with vampires instead of weird time shenanigans.
Yeah, I think it's more that they were trying to trend chase. Still, when they thought that looter shooters were still in vogue before the Microsoft acquisition, because if this was around Mooncrash, this was 2018. So,
but looter shooters weren't really. I mean, I guess they were on the upward trend, but they weren't
They had plateaued by then, because by that point, Destiny 2 plateaued under Activision. We were still waiting for the Division 2. This started around the time where the Division 2 was still going to happen.
Yeah.
Because Mooncrash happened in 2018. I don't remember when in 2018, but after they had shipped and done that, that's when they started developing this. And they were not acquired by Microsoft then. That's when Bethesda, they went in that whole diatribe of, we made this whole ad about saving player 1, but our games are not selling, so let's start trend chasing. Fallout 76 and make a Fallout MMO, and it completely a complete disaster that ruined Bethesda's reputation. Wolfenstein Youngblood. Let's take our Wolfenstein and try to make it a co-op multiplayer, not a looter, but having the same ideas for looter shooting. That was a complete disaster.
It was. It's more like a co-op shooter,
they made it
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, but really bad. Doing it really,
it's terrible.
Doing it really bad. So
the fact that you basically have to have another player like the AI is not smart enough to be your companion. Like it's dumb as rocks.
Yeah, I don't know if they patched it, but it was impossible to be able to finish that game without like a co-op partner. The final boss of that game was beyond horrible. So this was that Bethesda. This was prior to like the acquisition of Bethesda, where they were trying to find any sort of way they could to try to make money, because what they were doing was just not selling for them to be sustainable. So that's kind of where this idea came through. What I don't understand is, if Microsoft provides this like level of financial security, why didn't they look at this game and basically put a stick in the heart and can
it might have been too far along.
It would have been like 2 years, like two or 3 years by the time that they had finalized acquisition, because remember, this was announced in 2021. The Bethesda acquisition was finalized in March of that year, and this was announced in June. So this probably had like 2 years, like ish.
That's like a lot of time, though.
Yeah, but look what they ended up having. Like, does this look like a game that took 5 years? No, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. It's
in the second half of the game. Okay. I think what happened is the second half of the game was made first before the first half, because the second half is beautiful. Like, the second half is genuinely interesting. The first half of the game is really boring.
Yeah, to be fair, like my EIC Ains, he told me that. He reviewed the game. He was gonna give it a 5. Then by the time that he played the second half of the game, he ended up giving it a 7. But obviously he's the outlier, because this game is in the 4s and the 5s. But he didn't, and many of the places definitely say that the second half of that game is like the better half. Why the balance ended up turning like that is like, to me, for Arcane, that everything that they release is usually gold. Like, maybe not like commercial hit, but the Dishonored games are excellent. Prey, when you understand Prey, like as an immersive sim, excellent game. Like the level of malleability that game has that was only seen in like System Shock before that.
Yep.
They went from this to Deathloop was a really good game that was definitely Dishonored for dummies. That's how I call it. It's like it distilled their experience.
It also brought a lot of those elements to a more like casual like level. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, Dishonored for dummies, yeah.
Exactly. So
it makes sense.
No, and I think like the great thing is, if no one has ever played or clicked with an Arcane game, this is kind of like, to me, like Dishonored, Deathloop does like what Elden Ring did to me with Dark Souls. One of these finally clicked. Go back and experience the art. In that case, Deathloop was not as great as what came before, but it allowed you to be in the right space to fully understand what Arcane was going for with those old games.
Yeah.
So with this one is like, not like when I try to like find like the intricate level design, like in that hour that I played, I was like, no. It's like, how? Like, what? Seriously, what happened? I'm still like, It's still been like a week since that game came out, and I'm still like dumbfounded. Like, this really hurt more than anything. Not only Bethesda's reputation again, like the same way that Fallout 76 did. This now hurt Microsoft's reputation, because it's like, you let that out. This was your one more thing.
Despite the fact that Microsoft had zero input.
Yeah, even worse. That's it, because that's the thing. Like, zero input or not.
Microsoft is that friend that tries to take credit for all the work on the school project, and then they fail anyway. And Microsoft's like, "What the hell, bro?"
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, yes, and to me, that's inexcusable. It's like, regardless if you had any input or not, you promoted this in your showcase as an Xbox exclusive back in 2021. This was your one more thing. It's like, if this is how you're handling the projects that you own, as you're still trying to gobble up Activision Blizzard, but you're still like saying that you're gonna be fighting tooth and nail for that. It's like, how do I have you in the confidence that anything that you put out is gonna be quality? Like, right now, Starfield to me is in danger. Like, any hope that I had for that one of being like an excellent game, like, I don't trust it's gonna be. Like, until I see those reviews and I see them glowing, I do not believe, like, we're gonna see the showcase for Starfield like in a couple weeks, because it's gonna follow the Microsoft showcase like an hour and 30, and then the last 30 minutes is just a Starfield Direct. That's how they're calling it. It's like I do not trust Microsoft to do good anymore. Like, on top of like this, remember, this was delayed from last year. This was supposed to come out last year. What was this? In what state was this last year?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So obviously you're in the side that you have fun in it, but
Yeah.
I think you can deny like.
Oh no, there are tons of problems with this game. Like pacing is definitely a big thing, like I said earlier. But I said, like on PC at the very least, like everything felt very smooth. I didn't feel like at any point I had to really like tinker with the settings too much. I did turn down the DPI on my mouse, but that's more of my mouse's problem than the game's problem.
Yeah, but also, what are you have a high-end PC also, so it's
it's above mid range, but not quite high. It's that prosumer level.
it's still expensive. It's still like a lot of money.
It's still a very expensive PC.
Yeah,
this is a very expensive.
Yeah, in the place that matters, which is over on the Xbox consoles, is like the state of this game is unforgivable, and like absolutely unforgivable. And man, I can't wait to see how Microsoft like PRs its way out of this. We already saw that they already declared, oh yeah, we're never gonna beat Nintendo and Sony. They like their head literally said that. It was like, man, can you imagine having like if you were a console warrior, which to me they're so idiots, but imagine if you were kind of like fighting the war for that brand and hearing the head of that brand be like, we're never gonna win. Can you imagine? That's the state where they are.
So weirdly enough, I had a conversation with like my coworker the other day about this, and I think the biggest takeaway for that is more of like him admitting that the biggest reason that they lost the console war was their naming scheme is too confusing. They misadvertised their consoles, and like
they lost the worst generation to lose.
They did, and they did. Like this was the one they didn't want to lose, and this is the one they lost.
Yeah, because then their initiatives ensured that they introduced in that generation they lost ensured that everyone was gonna become entrenched. They're the ones that made a big deal about backwards compatibility. To their credit, that's the thing I love the most about it. What's the thing you love the most about the Xbox Series X you have, Paul?
I can just play Game Pass games.
Yep, and not only that, the backwards compatible games, like you play Metal Gear, the Metal Gear. It's like they're the ones that started that. But by them emphasizing backwards compatibility like as strongly as they did, Sony took notice, and even though we were worried they were not going to do it right, most of the time like they almost all of the 4,000 games that are like available on PS4 are playable on PS5, and one of them that was broken they finally fixed, which was Syndicate. Remember, Paul, that was like my big like lament that game was just broken on PS5, and they actually went back and fixed it when I never expected that was gonna happen. But it meant that they were gonna be entrenching people to be like, I have massed my 300 plus games in this console. Why would I switch? The only reason you would have switched is if the lineup of games was strong. Ones that you look at it is like, I really want to play that. And after Halo Infinite, which was the last time that I was like, I really want to play it, and we know what happened with Halo Infinite. They haven't had like a game like I'm glad that I own it because Game Pass is like it's so cheap that it's like you might as well have it, especially with the Series S. But it's like they don't justify being excited for you to have that other than just like it's the value proposition is so high, but then at the same time it's like what value is there if what they're offering is not compelling. Just because they're offering you a ton doesn't mean you're gonna like everything that they're offering you. I wanted Redfall to be one of those like first dominoes to be like, this is gonna be like Arcane. You know that they do really great work. When you even look at Deathloop, their last game was like so critically beloved, even though fans don't really like it. It has like a 6.5 in user score. But besides the point, it was in Game of the Year conversations and all that. Imagine if they had been at least as close to that level and being over on Game Pass. The fact that this was as south as possible from that, even though you can have fun with it, because I think you can have fun in fundamentally bad games. I've had that before. I mean, like how many just last year, Paul? How many fun we had with 6 out of 10s? Just like
a good amount, surprisingly.
Yeah, but also because we were starving, so it was like at least we're not closed-minded. Be like it has to be just a high tier, or we're not gonna enjoy anything. There can be fun in like the bad, but in this case, it's like this is what I expect from like a mid-tier developer, not from Arcane that has delivered so many, it's like quality so many times, and now it's like a first-party studio that they're like putting. Apparently, there's advertisements that you can see in football of Redfall. Like they're promoting this game. Like when did the wires cross that the game is just like an openly mocked game. That to the point that now the showcase for Microsoft doesn't have the Bethesda title anymore. The last 2 years, they were like, tune in to the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Now it's just that the Xbox showcase. What does that tell you? It's like the Bethesda name is once again besmirched. So, especially like that's the quality they're putting out when their competitors are putting the quality that we're about to talk about. At least this is how it's being received. It's like, it's just insane. It's like, I cannot believe how bad Xbox is doing, like, in the things that matter. It's like, this just perpetuates the narrative. So let's see how they PR their way out of this. But hey, for people, you heard from someone that even though the game is objectively bad, he found fun. So I am not gonna play it anymore until maybe the frame rate patch.
Yeah, like I said, give it a few months. Give it like a month or two. Pick it back up later.
Yeah, and the thing is, that
I hate saying that, to be genuinely honest with you. This hurt my soul a little bit. Yeah. But like, this game needed to stay in the oven a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, but they decided because they didn't want to put it as close to Starfield because they set the stake of when they want to release Starfield. So
yep.
But they just have that problem. They just don't finish cooking their games. It's like at a certain point, Game Pass is just not enough. It's like they have now officially become Netflix. How much crap does Netflix put out? They said they wanted to be like the HBO Max. They were like, no, we're gonna give you so much content, but it's gonna be quality. No, screw that. It's like, what you've been putting is like not even close to that promise.
But you do get some diamonds in the rough here and there.
Yeah, like I mean, they had Plague Tale, which got a 60 frames patch for console this week. 6 months too late, I would say, but I'm glad eventually it had it. And at the very least, that game was good. It was in Game of the Year running, so I didn't like it as much. I want to give it another shot eventually because I was rushing to try to make sure I had it done. So and at Paul's like insistence that I needed to see the crazy crap that happens like halfway through that game. But
it does get wild.
Way too wild. Yeah, the end.
Unfortunately, Alejandro pushed himself so hard that he hated the entire experience and then just trashed it on another podcast that I refused to watch an episode of.
Yeah. So. Man, it's like I'm definitely gonna, now that it has the 60 frames patch, at a quiet time, which I doubt we're gonna have right now. Maybe that's when I try it again. So again, this was the worst time for Redfall to like faceplant because of everything around it. So enough of that, because we have to like talk about that thing that's around it that's like now expectedly taking the world by storm. Press X, Paul.
Or some news.
Yeah. So, story number 1. So, the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review roundup. The embargo lifted actually today, this morning, just like it did last time with Breath of the Wild. It was the day before the console launch. So, the game sports an average rating of 96 on Metacritic, after 86 tallied reviews, and a 97 for OpenCritic after 62 tallied reviews, which also makes it the highest rated game from OpenCritic ever. This is officially like the highest rated game of the year, and as of right now on Metacritic, it's tied with Elden Ring. So here's a few excerpts. So Gene Park from the Washington Post gave it a 4 out of 4, which is the equivalent of 10 out of 10 for them, or 4 stars. And he says, ultimately, the lore isn't the main attraction and isn't the reason the Zelda series has endured for almost half a century. What's more compelling is the game's nod to the collective story of how human imagination pushes us through our toughest challenges and sometimes sends us soaring to heights unseen. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, just like the last one, and said, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is an unfathomable follow-up, expanding a world that already felt full beyond expectation and raising the bar ever higher into the clouds. GameSpot also gave it a 10 out of 10, like the last one, and they said, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a canvas for your own creativity, a book to write your own stories, a world to create your own legends. It gives you back as much as you put into it, and beckons you to soar, burrow, engineer, solve, adventure, and explore. So Game Informer gave it a 9.75 out of 10, or 9.8 if you want to say it. It's actually just 1/4 lower than they did Breath of the Wild last time. They actually get a 10, so 9.8 this time. So they say video game sequels are often iterative on what came before them. It looks a little better, plays a little smoother, retains important mechanics while introducing new ones, and continues the story. Tears of the Kingdom checks most of these boxes, but getting rid of the runes from the first game and giving players new ones to use in exploring a familiar but undeniably new world is ingenious. Nearly every encounter, whether puzzle, traversal, or combat, must be reconsidered. It makes you think in new ways. I didn't get the same goosebumps exploring Hyrule as I did in the past, but I did experience new emotions both on a granular level, from solving individual puzzles, and on a larger scale by going back to one of my favorite video game locations. They say you can never go home again, but I adore returning to Hyrule with all new tools. Eurogamer restarted their scoring this time because they had gotten rid of scores like 8 years ago. Their first score review, they gave this game a 4 out of 5, so an 8 out of 10, and they said, a terrific Breath of the Wild follow-up with some brilliant systems, amazing views, and more dungeon-type spaces, plus a slightly deadening emphasis on gathering resources. And I had to put in also this review because this is the one that created a conniption on Twitter. This site called Gfinity, which is an esports site, also reviewed this game, and it was actually kind of on Metacritic. They gave it a 6 out of 10, and it says, if you've yet to step foot into the open world of Hyrule, Tears of the Kingdom is the best way to experience it, with just enough new ground to keep things interesting. But if you didn't gel with the 2017 release, the story alone might not be worth the second attempt. So, ironically, the only 6 out of 10 in a sea of 10s, 9s, and 8s, they knew what they were doing. It's like they brought so much traffic into their site. The reviewer had to private his. The reviewer had to private his account because he was getting death threats and all that. That's what happens when.
The internet.
Yeah, that's what happens when.
Never change.
I know, like, this is a perfectly valid thing, and I wanted to get into that slightly, but also I feel like it's so funny because you mentioned it's a Major League Gaming
esports site.
I just picture it's like 6 out of 10. It's not Counter-Strike, and like just picturing Legend of Zelda as like what he would prefer. It just sounded so much funnier than like the reality of, hey, this didn't vibe with me the first time, didn't vibe with me this time, which is like a perfectly reasonable response. Yeah,
that's what was so funny. I actually went and read the full review because I was like, I need to see it because like I never heard of this site, and I read the entire thing, and I was like, you know what? He has the reviewer had an interesting perspective of someone that just didn't vibe at all with Breath of the Wild. Like, that was more a traditionalist, and many times I've said that I enjoy Breath of the Wild. I like that game. I praise its achievements, but it's my second to last favorite Zelda. Like, my least favorite is Skyward Sword, but it's like, it's at that bottom for me because as a Zelda game, it's like, it's not what I wanted out of Zelda, but I know the things that it achieves. And many of the reviews that I've heard and read is that they were not in this breakdowns because they were more in the nuance. I have heard so much how much this tries to marry the open nature of Breath of the Wild with like the traditional things from the Zelda games that I like. Like dungeons are back. I've been reading about it. They say that there's like they're better than Divine Beast. They're not quite Twilight Princess dungeons, which is like the peak in dungeon design that Zelda has ever had. But just the fact that they're dungeons, that they say that they're visually distinct. They each have a unique boss, each have a unique item that actually power creeps you through the rest of the game in a way that Breath of the Wild didn't, because they gave you everything at once to have like the full freedom. That to me does sound more appealing, or feels like it was so funny because the tweet that promoted that IGN review, they didn't put it in the breakdown here. They say that it made Breath of the Wild seem like a first draft, and I'm like, that's so funny. That's how it always felt like. It felt like to me because it was Nintendo's first ever open world game. So, to me, I seen that it scored as high as Elden Ring last year when we got the scores for Elden Ring. Paul, that seemed more impressive. This seems like par for the course. I am really curious to see where everything lands when like we're removed from the honeymoon period of like all these high scores, because I also remember when Skyward Sword got a ton of 10s and everyone was calling it the greatest Zelda game ever made back in 2011. I sure remember that, IGN. You actually said that. I have the quote. So, but what do you think of this, Paul? Like the poetics of the high scores.
I'll be honest. Gene's getting a little flowery for my taste in that one. That was a little bit much because that said to me, it lets you do some cool creative things. Yeah,
not to the collective story of how human imagination pushes us through our toughest challenges.
Like, all right, buddy, ease up.
Yeah.
I would honestly say any of his other quotes are a lot more, like, not reliable, but, like, more accurate to what the experience is actually like.
The GameSpot one, the one that says that it keeps you back as much as you put into it, like, and beckons you to soar, borrow, engineer, solve, adventure, and explore. That sounds reasonable.
That sounds really accurate.
Yeah.
That sounds right. I also appreciate the honestness of the Game Informer one, where there was like, hey, listen, this wasn't as like
magical
hype in some areas, but yeah, magical is a better word. But then, like, at the same time, I had fully new experiences with the new tools they gave me. So it's like, that's kind of what I would expect out of it. It's like, you don't come into this expecting the crazy blown away feeling that you had in Breath of the Wild, unless that was like really your thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to give you so much other cool stuff. And that's really all that most of us need to probably give it a 10, I would say.
This also comes on the heels of that GQ top 100 greatest games of all time. And what ended up being the number one game?
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Second was Last of Us.
Last of Us, yeah. And I tell you,
like,
that's way too high for The Last of Us. Way too high.
That is way too high.
Way too high.
It's a good story, but it's Resident Evil 4. Calm down, people.
Exactly. And Resident Evil 4 was on that list. Resident Evil 4 should have been higher. So
Exactly.
So yeah, but
Destiny 1 was on that list though, so
yeah. And I'll say this, like Destiny 1, very influential game that shifted us into the live service landscape. I feel like, and it's still one of the better examples, even with its stumbles. So, and you're frozen a little bit, Duncan.
oh shoot, no. Oh god, that's a great.
Now we're talking about a slideshow with audio.
This is actually really great. Yeah, so
it's like an opening to New Girl.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Anyway.
Hopefully it's yeah, hopefully it stabilizes. If not, it's just gonna be funny that you're like in slideshows, but at least we get your audio. So the thing is, Paul, is that I've been more excited about this game just with the last trailer. This reviews is not the thing that pushed me over the edge because I just knew that the critical consensus was already in the bag for this game. It's like it
wasn't gonna give us anything actually real out of it.
Exactly. So I just wanted, like, to me, it's like, I wish I could see what people see in Breath of the Wild, that they easily give it the greatest game of all time, all the time. It's like, I understand, like, I give the game its flowers for paving the way for Elden Ring, for example. It's like, they set the template, and then we saw, like, what that template, like, birthed. And that was and that was Elden Ring. So it's like, in a way, it's like, it was an influential game, like Zelda tends to do. I do feel that sometimes that influence feels overblown a little bit because Breath of the Wild had so many tiny things that are so annoying about it that I just can't, like, that just doesn't compute to me, like, giving it the highest of highest praises. Though I feel it deserves to be, like, in a top 10. I do believe just not the top.
At the time, you and I in our chat, I said the whole human subjectivity, but I wanted to at least touch on the idea that when you say, when somebody who says best games or greatest games of all time, people are going to rate that on such different metrics that it's like, is it the best game ever? No, but I could definitely see how somebody who had, like, a completely transcendent experience playing that game and the memory of it is so good, even if the game isn't, that makes it the best game ever to them. Just like how it's like your personal experience with a specific game, or say your love for the song Take On Me.
Yeah.
Like, some people wouldn't consider that the best game,
the best song
ever or whatever, but it's like, because that hits with you specifically, that's why. And, like, nobody can really take that, but also it's of course going to be your answer to where a lot of people might not understand why or consider it because mechanically it's just too boring, it's basic, it's a one-hit wonder or whatever. But, like, this is actually just me just ranting on his favorite song.
But it makes sense because it's time and space can sometimes be like what resonated. I can imagine, like, a lot, because the thing with that GQ list is that they polled many journalists and developers.
300 people. Yeah,
so it was like everyone gave their individual top 10s. Everyone. No one saw everything. And just in the consensus, Breath of the Wild once again came out on top. That's why, like, it does make me wonder, like, especially because I know some of those developers and also journalists are probably older than I am, that Breath of the Wild really was a shift of where the industry was at the point, especially with open world games. Like, Ubisoft was like, had already set a template that was dominating for half a decade, the checklist of complete everything within, like, a certain point. here's the question marks in the map. Just follow those question marks.
Climb a tower to reveal an area, stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. And even then, you climb towers in Breath of the Wild. That's the one thing that even then they copied from them. But obviously, like Breath of the Wild was like the first one to be like, hey, what if we brought back the sense of adventure and mystery and discovery into an open space where the diegetic design of the world is what's gonna like catch your eye and you're gonna go explore that. That was a big design philosophy of Elden Ring, and because Souls games already were built on that philosophy, it translated perfectly into like an open space. But Breath of the Wild made sure that to show that it was possible to do such a big world that your own like sense of discovery could like take you through it. It's like, Paul, you and I would talk about like the first thing we did when we got the go to these 4 places however you want. What we ended up doing is like we went the opposite direction, and we found so much, and the game didn't penalize you for it. It's like that is the achievement in open world design that I will always like praise Breath of the Wild for. It's just that then when I added the lack of story, visuals that are cute in art style, but are like there's like performance problems and all of that, the weapon durability, the obtuse controls. Like when I list all of that, then when I hear the greatest game of all time conversation, then I'm like, man, it's like we really are waving away some of these problems, aren't we? So that's kind of when that I get against Breath of the Wild, against like that high praise, but I can also separate that and be like, I can give praise in the places that matter. So I think Duncan, when you last were here, we were talking about the trailer, the last one, and you gave you basically gave your thoughts about how you feel about Zelda. So after reading all this, how you feel?
I mean, look, so Zelda games have never clicked for me. I think I've said that before. Mm-hmm. Like, they're fun, they're cool, they've just never really like hit that spot for me that like adventure games usually do. Mm-hmm. That said, this does look interesting. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, because my biggest problem with the first one was that the world was too big and it felt like it lacked something. Mm-hmm. And I think like calling Breath of the Wild a first draft to Tears of the Kingdom might be appropriate. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to see how it goes, because like I actually have beaten Breath of the Wild a few times. Sometimes one of those ways was not the way you're supposed to play the game, which is really fun. Yeah,
and that's and that was baked into the design, and that's what's partly brilliant about it. Yeah. But the thing is that will all this hit now in a post Elden Ring world for me, because Elden Ring like showed me, it was like, imagine just the same feelings Breath of the Wild gave you, but with even more within like the maps and some like the craziest ways that you would find things that you wouldn't expect like a video game to have, like from an art direction, from design. Like the first time you go underground in Elden Ring, obviously they introduced an underground section of this in this map, they said, and I've been reading that it's just as big as Hyrule, an entire underground. That's like nuts to me, because even Elden Ring had like, it had big spaces in the underground, and that's where we had like the upside down stars, which are like such a cool visual of that game.
The City of Nights.
Exactly.
The City of Eternal Night,
Yeah, City of Eternal Night. It's like, it's just such an awe-inspiring, like just an awe-inspiring feeling that game gave me. So I wonder how that underground will hit me with this one.
I'm sure it'll be impressive.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. I wanted to add one piece of trivia that I found out just like last week about Breath of the Wild after all of this time. Mm-hmm. And it's that there is actually a scaling system to the game. Because, like the problem was that, there's no reason to fight any enemies because you use up your stuff. Turns out with every enemy you kill, you get a point. And as those points go up, that actually is what spawns better weapons.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Me neither.
So for a long time, I was like
ignoring enemies.
What is the point to fighting enemies? Turns out there is a hidden metric for progress in the game, and it is killing enemies. And
where would these weapons pop? From the enemies themselves? From chests?
It will slowly start to fill. Yeah, go ahead, Duncan.
Basically, what it does is anytime a weapon could spawn, it would as you level up in the background, it would increase the quality of that weapon possible. So, like, if you don't do a lot of fighting, it'll spawn like wooden weapons or very basic bronze, like simple weapons, basically. And then as you kind of progress through the game, you get slowly better. Then you start to get the knight's weapons at certain points. Then you get like the I forget what they're called. They're like the tier right under guardian weapons.
I don't remember. It's been a while since.
I can't remember it either.
But anyway, that's there's like an actual reason for it. And some ways you can like by picking up a weapon, it also helps shift that further. So that's why a lot of people like to go to Hyrule Castle, pick up a nice weapon, and then all of a sudden the game goes, "Oh, you have the weapon. We should start populating more of these better weapons."
Yeah. Again, so many. That's like so thoughtful. It's like imagine how thoughtful
whenever
it was.
You complete Divine Beasts, it jumps you up in those levels too.
That too.
That makes sense. But it actually now makes me curious to just like go to Breath of the Wild because I have a halfway point save and an alternate account there. Maybe I can start playing that before Tears of the Kingdom, just to test it and see it because I was there because there's no visual way to see it. I was like, why am I wasting my weapon? Or if I want to like fight like lower level enemies like in the world, I would use like my weakest stuff and always save my strong stuff for like if I was gonna do Divine Beasts or Shrines or even on my way to Hyrule Castle near the end. So again, there's so much brilliant stuff in Breath of the Wild that I'm not gonna deny it's there. Go Tuck, you're always gonna have me like in the other side. Or, hey, maybe Tears of the Kingdom will be the one. Maybe with this one I'll see what people saw with the other one. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe.
I'm like, I went from indifference to, oh yeah, it's a Zelda game. I'm gonna play because it's Zelda, and then the trailer, and then the Fusion showcase that we saw on that 10-minute gameplay demo. Paul was like, that was when I was like, man, if this ends up working, I mean, like. Even Gene said it in a tweet, Paul, that he already saw video of someone like making a giant robot with like the
fire
elongated fire dragon penis. So it was like, yep, I knew that was gonna happen because I just knew that's what will happen when you give the many players the keys to the kingdom for this level of creativity. So I can't wait to see that crazy crap that happens. I just hope the dungeons are good. I just hope that the story like sticks with me more and that the sense of discovery, like even if it's not wowing me because I already got wowed with Elden Ring, I just hope it's a really like a game worthy of the scores that it's getting right now. Just as the last time, when I see it from Innovations, I felt those scores were warranted back then in 2017. It's just in hindsight, I don't feel as highly, but hey, the swan song of the Switch is here finally. So, and at the right time because story number 2 for us. So, Nintendo Switch surpasses 125 million units sold, but overall sales are down. Story by Wesley LeBlanc from Game Informer. Nintendo has released its latest round of financial results, this time for the end of fiscal year 2023, which ended in March. While the Switch has surpassed 125 million units sold, it's officially at 125.62 million units as of March. Both hardware and software sales for the platform are down. Hardware is down from 23.6 million units sold in fiscal year 2022 to 17.97 million in fiscal year 2023, 22.1% decline. The base Switch model sold 6.14 million units over the past fiscal year, a 54.7% decrease, and the Switch Lite sold 2.62 million units for a 29.2% decrease. By the way, just interject, I'm shocked that even though the Switch Lite is much cheaper, the base unit sells more.
I'm not that surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you were in retail, Duchess. So.
Yeah, I was in retail sales. I'm not surprised by that statement whatsoever.
Yeah,
this is actually a great opportunity because the retail side of it is like that's the facts right here. At least on my screen, it's below me. And that's
because you were you still working at GameStop, Paul, when the Switch launched, or were you gone by then? Yeah, March 2017.
I was working holidays, so I would come in either October or November.
Oh, okay.
And then work into December, and then.
So so then you probably were there by the time Mario came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and Duchess, I had that private conversation with Duchess here that when the Switch launched in March and it was only Zelda.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I will say though, it's kind of funny seeing the opposite for the Switch, because if you remember, Duncan, the
3DS
was selling like freaking nuts.
The 2DS, yeah.
Yes, that was crazy.
Wasn't it like $80?
The shelves.
Wasn't the 2DS like $80 or something? Like, it was like so cheap.
The flat 2DS was.
Yeah.
The 2DS XL was
100 something. Yeah. So
it was a little bit cheaper than a 3DS, but not by a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
So continuing here real quick, the Switch OLED model, the one that came out in 2021, you were no longer working at GameStop around that time, right? Duchess?
No, I was.
You were?
Still was.
Okay.
They were, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I worked until November of 2021.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I remember I would talk to Alejandro actually about you, and Lulu, and some of the others. I just remember this, where I'd be like, "Yeah, I got a lot of friends that are in there. Some of them are really holding on to it." Talking about Donovan, and some of the others are like finally getting out. And then I remember celebrating at some point where like the last person that I really like cared for finally left. I was like, "Oh, thank God, they got out of there. That's such a relief."
Yeah, because I would always talk crap of GameStop and how it was gonna go down because of all the store closures and all that, and you were always being mentioned not by name, but you were always in that part. That's why I mentioned when you guested on our show like a month ago that you were a part of our show, like in passing reference.
I've always been a part of the show.
Yeah,
formative part of my life, I tell you.
Oh yeah, so the Switch OLED model sold well at 9.22 million units, representing a 58.8 increase in sales year over year, which that makes more sense because even though it's not like a leap, it's a better hardware. So anyone that the psychology is like, oh, it's a better Switch, even though like in TV is just basically the same. Everyone's gonna get the new one.
That's technically not true. So again, having to work retail with them and having to be so close to these consoles all the time. So there's two versions of the original model Switch.
Mm-hmm.
There's a version 2 that kind of came out around Christmas of 2020, kind of silently. Mm-hmm. Like, it's got an upgraded battery.
We had the red box, right?
Yes,
it came with the full red box.
Yeah, so that's the version 2 of the original Switch, but there's no difference technically outside of the battery and the IC board for charging. And
then the OLED has the better screen. That's
the OLED has the better screen, but it has the same version 2 battery. Mm-hmm. And the thing is with an OLED is if you actually want to utilize the OLED, it means you actually have overall less battery life, which is hilarious. Yeah, because the entire point of the version 2 Switch was to have more battery life.
Yeah, so, but again, it's like just like the ignorant consumer. A Switch that has a bigger and better screen. Not ignoring the other things. Like that's why it makes sense though, even though it's not a bigger seller, it's the one hardware from the Switch that saw an increase the last year, even though all sales are down. So for its fiscal year 2024, which ends next March, Nintendo forecasts a decrease in net sales and profits due to a reduction in the unit sales of Nintendo Switch hardware and software and an appreciated exchange rate for the Japanese yen. The company knows that the Switch has entered its 7th year since launch, and that while it will become more challenging to maintain sales momentum, its goal is to have more consumers continue to play Nintendo Switch for longer, leading to maximize sales. In other words, Nintendo wants you to play Switch from now on until March 2024. Not a different console from the company, which sounds like we shouldn't expect new hardware before March of next year. So, it's like, this would have been a perfect time to release a new Switch. FYI, let's just say with this game, the Digital Foundry review for Tears of the Kingdom mentions that it's actually quite a technical achievement for Nintendo that they were able to do Tears of the Kingdom with the 7-year-old Switch with 10-year-old hardware inside of it, but that there's a nagging sense that a bit of the game was held back, like that it could have been even more impressive had it been like a newer hardware, but them's the breaks. So. Yeah. Nintendo sales is like 125 million. That's huge. They're getting this close to reaching Nintendo DS numbers. Their biggest seller. The Wii U only sold like 12 million units. The fact that they already lapped it by 100 million is insane. But
I also think we're hitting a market saturation point with the Switch.
Who doesn't have it?
Right. Like, I own two.
Uh-huh.
I have two Switches.
Paul owns two also.
I own one. My wife owns another. Technically,
Exactly. That's why in your household.
I mean,
yeah, in a household. Okay, yeah.
I technically own both the Switches in my household, but Lulu owns the other one.
By the way, your freeze frames are hilarious.
I want to turn off my camera and turn it back on and see if that fixes it, but this is funnier.
Yeah. Yes, the slideshow is like a freaking anime, the old school anime style. But yeah, so the Nintendo DS here is at 154 million units sold, so they're only 27 million to go. I doubt it gets there, especially if they get a new Switch announced by next year, because everyone's like clamoring for it now. And if Nintendo wants everyone to keep playing, it's like, are they gonna release more games after Tears of the Kingdom? Because this feels like the last one, like their last hurrah. At least that's how I always see it. Like Skyward Sword was the last hurrah for the Wii. Breath of the Wild was technically the last hurrah for the Wii U, even though it was a launch title for the Switch. Twilight Princess was the last hurrah for the GameCube. So, are they gonna drop us now as a Metroid Prime 4? Are they gonna drop on us Twilight Princess and Wind Waker maybe later this year? I doubt it, because I doubt they would want to cannibalize their own sales here. So, oh well. I mean,
I think this is the longest we've had a Nintendo console in recent history, too.
Yeah, longest, because they've never gone beyond 4 or 5 years. So yeah, it was 4 or 5 years, and then we got the new one. So
Wii U was 6 years, but yeah.
No, Wii U was like 4.
So Wii was 2006, Wii U was 2012.
Yeah, so. Yeah, 6
years.
Yeah, 6 years, and the supported 5, because the last game
it died so fast.
Their last game was Skyward Sword, and then they released nothing for an entire year until the Wii U, the Wii U launched, and then the Wii U was 5 years, technically 4. The support started like way before that, but it was like as the only console current that you could get. So and then the GameCube was 5 from 2001 to 2006.
Yeah,
that's when the Wii was, and then. N64, 5 years.
96 to 2001. Yeah. Something like that.
So 5 years. So 5 or 6 years has always been the 4 to 6. I see it has been like the average for them. So Switch is the longest.
We're pushing 7 on the Switch.
Yeah, but they keep selling. So only recently PS5 has been overtaken. The PS5 is like exploding right now. And it's going to explode even more with Final Fantasy next month. So So story number 3, just another interesting sales data for a franchise that to me doesn't seem as hot, but apparently it is, at least in numbers. Horizon franchise surpasses 32 million units sold as Forbidden West nears 9 million. PlayStation and developer Guerrilla have revealed that the Horizon franchise has surpassed 32 million units sold. The series, which consists of 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn and its Frozen Wild expansion, 2022's Horizon Forbidden West and this year's Burning Shores expansion, and their recently released PSVR 2 exclusive title, Horizon Call of the Mountain, which I completely forgot about that it had actually come out this year also, has quickly become one of PlayStation's best-selling. In a new PlayStation blog post detailing Guerrilla's history, PlayStation reveals the Horizon franchise has surpassed said 32 million units sold worldwide. Millions more around the world have discovered Horizon thanks to PlayStation's subscription services and initiatives, including PlayStation Plus and Play at Home. Guerrilla Studio Director and Art and Animation Director Jan Bart van Beek writes in the blog post. All told, it's a milestone we never imagined possible 20 years ago when we first started making games. The reception has been staggering, and we're grateful to the community for the continued love and support for the franchise. The blog post ends with Van Beek teasing that the studio can't wait for you to find out where Aloy will go next, which we already know it's like a third game and a multiplayer game that they're also working. So, to me, it's the fact that we always mention is that this franchise is always overshadowed, no matter what. 3 times.
Always.
3 times now. With Breath of the Wild last time in 2017, with Elden Ring last year, and this year, them ending their expansion with like the coolest looking boss battle, like showcasing the power of the PS5, and then Jedi Survivor launches, and halfway through that game we got like the coolest set piece ever with like a giant robot also that was even more cooler implemented. I just seen like the scale of that one. So it's like all the talk about everyone be like, play Burning Shores, so you can see like that massive scale of the final boss. Then Jedi Survivor happened and be like, yeah, wait until the halfway through the point of that game to see something incredible and the greatest action sequence of any game in recent times. So, but look how much it sells. Not everyone hates women, Paul.
You're never gonna live that down, bud.
Never. I really can never, because he'll bring things back up from like the year we met, and I'm like, I didn't even remember that. I don't even remember what we talked about.
Yeah,
he won't let it.
Yeah,
won't let me forget.
Yeah, you should curse Zach forever. He's the one that noted it. I just keep driving the point.
Zach is smarter and funnier than either of us put together.
Oh yes. Like no, literally. I can never deny that. It's
the man is a one-liner machine.
Yeah. Wait, I don't know how he can be so like clever and he's not like a stand-up comedian or something. But yeah, it's like exciting for Horizon. That's the thing. Like I always say that I never think that Horizon will ever feels like it's part of the zeitgeist, but it's selling like it is. That's crazy. So
good for them. I'm really glad they're at least selling well. Mm-hmm. It's just a shame that they constantly get overshadowed by something cooler every time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but I still enjoy it. I still say, Paul, like if you ever get that quiet time, like at least see Burning Shores through. Like it's short and it's still like I like the big part of Jedi Survivor more because even though technically Horizon's big thing, it's bigger. The things you do in Jedi Survivor is cooler, but it's still worth looking, especially on your big TV. It's something that you should at least watch. At least just put it in story mode and just blast through so you can see it. Prove you're not a misogynist.
Considering freaking Tears of the Kingdom is twice as long as Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah.
And mainlining it takes 60 hours.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Are you gonna mainline it? Like that's gonna be interesting.
No, I'm gonna take
my sweet time.
I'm gonna play this probably all the way up until Final Fantasy 16 comes out, or until I burn out.
Yeah,
but I am
reviewing Tears of the Kingdom, so I have a
best of luck.
Yeah, you have a vested interest in finishing this game.
Exactly,
and playing a lot of it.
Yeah, especially because then I'm reviewing Final Fantasy 16. So
gotta play it fast.
Yep. I have a month. I think I'll manage.
Man. I'll at least like get far enough in that you can talk about it pretty clearly.
Yeah, and I feel that's a game like again I can get out of it how much I put into it. So I'm gonna try to hit a middle spot for that one. So, story number 4. CD Projekt has defined the new framework for Witcher game project series. This is a story by Tom Ivan from BGC. The company said last October that it had an innovative take on the Witcher universe in development at the Molasses Flood, an American studio behind Flaming the Flood, which it acquired in 2021. The game will be set in the Witcher universe, but it differs from our past releases in that it targets a much broader audience. CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Kaczynski said at the time, series will provide both single-player and multiplayer gameplay. However, in March, CD Projekt suggested it was going back to the drawing board with the game after reevaluating its scope and commercial potential. In a regulatory announcement, it told investors it had established an impairment allowance related to expenses incurred developing the project. It said the value of the expenses incurred total 33.4 million PLN, $7.6 million in 2022, and 9.5 million PLN, which is 2.2 million in the first 2 months of 2023. In an update on Thursday, CD Projekt said it has now set a new direction for the project and revised the above figures.
That is a lot of business lingo for me goofed up.
Yeah, right.
I can try to explain it a little.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so impairment allowances are basically a loan in short terms, but they're a loan held against profit rather than against an asset.
Interesting.
So basically what they're doing is they're borrowing money, promising to pay it back with the profits from the game. Which is why whenever you go farther down, they've reduced the amount they're taking out on the loan from 3.4 or 33.4 to 21.5 because I think they don't have. I mean, obviously they still have confidence, but I don't think they have as much confidence.
Especially if this is an experimental game. So an experimental game can be like super successful or a big disaster. It's never somewhere.
He said it's gonna try to target a much broader audience.
Yeah. That's when you know.
That's when my red flag went straight up, and then it went worse when he said it'll provide both single player and multiplayer gameplay. I went, nope, get out of there, buddy, get out of there, SpongeBob.
Also,
do it.
The fact that they've already spent 9.5 million of that in 2 months,
that's insane.
Says a lot.
Yeah, but that's the problem with multiplayer games. That's how expensive they are. That's what sucks.
Yeah,
so that's why you have to like really be confident that your idea is gonna be one that stands out in a crowded multiplayer market where everyone already set in and what they want. Like it's like you got your people in your Fortnites, you got your people in your Call of Duties, you got your people in your Destinies, like us. You got your people in your Apexes. You got your people in your WoWs, in your Final Fantasy 14s. It's like it's just a market now that's so set that people are set on their ways, and the only way that you can siphon people out is if one of those are screwing up enough that everyone wants to try something else. That's where Final Fantasy 14 grew, because WoW was just screwing the pooch. So yeah, it's so funny. It's like I wish I could have heard more about like what this new framework was for this, but just knowing that it's just a single player and multiplayer thing. This is.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood the definition of what an impairment allowance is. I found a much clearer one.
Oh,
an impairment allowance is an amount representing management's best estimate of losses on a portfolio based off of loans.
Ooh.
So basically, in simpler terms, that's how much money they're expecting to lose.
That is far worse.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not better.
Oh.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're reducing it from 33.4 to 2.1 is, I mean, it's still bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great. It's still bad.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the fact that they're expecting to lose less on the investment from last year and 9.5 for this year, and they've already spent. Okay, I'm sorry. I just finished reading the article. They've already spent 2.7 million of the 9.5.
Yep.
In 2 months. What is this game gonna do?
Yep. So, and that's the thing. Like, yes, they just turned around Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red still is not like in the clear for me of like in proper project management, and this is sounding like that's still a problem.
Yeah. No, like the fact that they dropped so much on Cyberpunk that it was going to be like, no, we're done with The Witcher, we're moving on to greener pastures, and then Cyberpunk is what happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, until like whatever is next for them, whatever if it's the Witcher remake or Witcher 4 or the other Cyberpunk price or even the Phantom Liberty expansion, or something like that. Like that has to be like good for me to like feel that they have gotten their crap together. This still feels like reading and hearing that feels like mismanagement. So yeah, it's we'll see. It's like apparently it's like you do your CD Projekt. It's like good thing you turn around Cyberpunk eventually. Eventually I'll play it. So final story. Summer Gamefest 2023 announces over 40 partners, including Xbox and PlayStation. Story by Jordan Midler. And here we go. More than 40 partners set to take part in Summer Gamefest activities, the host Jeff Keighley wrote on Twitter. Those interested in attending the showcase in person can also buy tickets to the event, which are now on sale. The event, which takes place at the YouTube Theater in Inglewood, California on June 8th, is set to feature many of the biggest game publishers, although the extent of their involvement has not yet been confirmed by Keighley. Last year's show included confirmation that a remake of The Last of Us would arrive on PS5 later that year, which was leaked before the show started, so it completely blunted the entire show. The full list of partners announced by Keighley include Activision, Amazon Games, Annapurna, Bandai Namco, Behavior, Capcom, CD Projekt Red, Devolver, Digital Extremes, Disney, EA, Epic Games, Focus Interactive, Gearbox, Grinding Gear Games, Hoyoverse, Kabam Larian, Level Infinite, Magic the Gathering, Neowitz, Netflix, Nexon, Niantic, North Beach Games, Samsung Gaming Hub, Second Diner, Sega, Paradox, Pearl Abyss, Phoenix Labs, PlayOn, PlayStation, Pocket Pair, Racer, Smilegate, Square Enix, Stemma, Techland, Tribeca Festival, Ubisoft, Warner Bros. Games, and Xbox. Most notable is the presence of PlayStation and Xbox. Following Summer Gamefest, this summer's Xbox Games Showcase will take place on Sunday, June 11, and will begin at 10 a.m. PT, 1 p.m. ET, 6 p.m. BST, and 7 p.m. CET. Sony is also planning to showcase upcoming PlayStation games in a digital event held within the next few weeks, sources have told VGC. According to people with knowledge of Sony Interactive Entertainment's plans, the next big PlayStation showcase could take place at the end of this month or in early June, ahead of other big events planned for next month, including Summer Gamefest. So, a lot of people gonna be involved with Summer Gamefest now. There's
a typo in that list, by the way. It's Steam.
Steam?
Yeah.
Oh. Stemma.
There was a typo.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There are some names on there that catch me by surprise, but also I'm not surprised at the same time. Like we know Netflix, like they have their little game thing that they've been trying to get developers for.
And they recently acquired Joe Staten, the head guy for Halo, that wrote the original Halos.
That is Netflix, surprising, but also not surprising at the same time. The fact that Magic the Gathering
is going to be there.
The brand Magic the Gathering is going to be there.
Yeah. To me, anything revolving the Magic the Gathering right now is forever like tied to the fact that they sent Pinkertons to like something like that. Like I didn't know the Pinkertons were a real thing.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Oh, but not only did they send Pinkertons to this guy's house, they sent Pinkertons because they couldn't legally send the police because nothing was legally done. Like, if anyone committed an illegal act here, it was Wizards. Like, WotC's the one who did illegal shit. That's not the point. We're not going to get into it.
I know, but it's just the fact that was one of the funniest headlines I had seen. Yeah. It was in that Monday poll that I was like, this is time to go to bed news because it's way too much. I can't believe it.
There's kind of neat because I have a feeling they're probably going to announce some... Because Razer typically doesn't do branded merch.
Mm-hmm.
They typically only have their own brand, right? But a long time ago, sorry.
In a galaxy far, far away.
They did a couple of promos with Star Wars. They did one with World of Warcraft. And like they've done it for like CSGO, but like they haven't done a lot of them. So I hope this means we're going to get some more like branded stuff, because Razer makes some really high quality stuff. It's just unless you want it in black, you don't have options.
Yeah. Bandai Namco being here, Elden Ring DLC first showcase.
I was thinking it's gonna be second stuff, but
because Bandai Namco is a pretty big publisher.
That's true. They do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but it's just more because Jeff Keighley tied himself to Elden Ring like pretty heavily. Remember, he was the one that revealed the comeback trailer after we had not heard from Elden Ring for like 2 years. So he was the first one to show us like the big first look of the game, what it looked like inside. Back in 2021.
I'm sure if From had it their way, they would have done the Armored Core. Wow, great. No work good. The Armored Core announcement at Summer's Game Fest, but instead they did it on a more like
by themselves
day. Well, they did it on Crow Day or Corvid Day.
What's Corvid Day?
Okay, so Corvid Day, or Corvid Day is for like ravens, crows, stuff like that. And it kind of goes back on the fact that in Armored Core, elite pilots of Armored Cores are called ravens.
That makes sense. So they synergized it with like a very obscure thing to reveal a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. like I said, they did it at an appropriate time. It's just a really weird, like seemingly, like if you don't know what it was, like if you didn't know that April 27th was Corvid Appreciation Day, you would have been like, oh, that's cool. They just randomly announced it. I'm like,
Yeah, that didn't like register for me at all. But
Yeah.
I don't like it. Wouldn't be behind like past them to show like a uncut gameplay maybe there, kind of like
Possibly.
how we saw Callisto Protocol and Modern Warfare 2. Activision being here, I can see this is where the now rumored Modern Warfare 3 that's coming out this year. Remember, I didn't put that in
Modern
the news.
Warfare 3.2 or version 2. We're trying it again, we promise.
Wait, after we had heard last year that annualization was no longer going to be a thing for Activision, but they were going to do like a big expansion for this year.
Yeah.
But instead, they're like, no, let's make it a full-fledged game and put Modern Warfare 3 to it. So it's like, it's insane to me. It's like, just if that's true, that Modern Warfare 2019 had like a clean 3 years to like be its thing, and this one, which was fairly well received in the multiplayer side in a way, like campaign sucked ass, if you remember, Paul. So it's like it fell off a cliff. Like I know that Warzone, like when it came to Warzone fell off a cliff like massively with the 2.0 version that launched with Modern Warfare 2, and are they really just wanting to like jolt it back up and just put like a new product in market? That's especially the one made by Sledgehammer. So this is not even Infinity Ward. So funny enough, Sledgehammer is the one that made Modern Warfare 3 back then because Infinity Ward couldn't finish it. So because of the firing of the heads and the studio that Exodus that became Respawn, Sledgehammer kind of came in to finish that game. So them doing another Modern Warfare 3, how poetic. So Amazon Games, was that Diablo style game, Duchess? Is it Lost Ark?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Lost Ark.
So maybe they show with something with Lost Ark there, who knows? Capcom, I'm interested though, because Street Fighter will be out by then. Because it comes out on June 2nd.
They'll probably announce DLC characters.
Yeah, that could
Well, they already did for Street Fighter.
Yeah, the game's not even out yet, and they're already announcing DLC characters.
Exactly. Yeah, and the beta launches next week, I think.
Yeah.
Also, so I wonder if Capcom's gonna release something new because they have Exo Primal that comes out in July, unless they just want to poop out another trailer there. But they have other maybe a new DMC, Paul.
One can hope, but the way 5 ended was pretty definitive.
I think that they're gonna break them back out whenever they want to. I think.
Yeah.
Like if we get like another like DMC4 where it's just a story about Nero, that'd be kind of cool.
I would honestly prefer to not have to bounce around between characters
anymore
for once. Because especially now to be locked into a third of the game with my favorite character is like, then I might as well not even play the rest of the game. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah, especially with DMC5 adding V. So I didn't like V at all.
At least they gave you the choice to pick between two characters.
That'd be cool.
Usually.
Like, yeah.
Well, not every time, but usually.
Yeah.
Well, in 4 it was like you didn't pick. It's like it was half a game one and then half a game the other.
That's an entirely different situation though. Unfortunately, the whole like they only had time to build half a game, so they just made the rest of the game backwards and all that. Because that's a whole thing.
So,
anyway,
but it's not as bad as Metal Gear 2. That's where I was going.
Oh yeah. That it was like 2 hours of 2 hours of Snake, and then the entire rest of the game was right.
And then 100 hours is riding.
Yeah.
I actually watched a video essay. Good lord, about exactly that. I don't know if y'all saw it recently. The like saved you a click. Twitter posted something about this video essay essentially, but basically it was that they actually talked about Raiden in a Game Boy Advance game that came out a year and a half before the game, but like even before it was announced or something, that you were playing a bunch of it was MGS1, and at the end
VR missions.
It was talked about VR missions, and you were playing as somebody named Jack playing as Snake the whole time.
I had that disc. I had that. It was on PS1.
Really?
Yeah, PS1. Yeah. Metal Gear Solid VR missions.
If you've played Peace Walker, you know what's going to happen in 5.
Right. Which is funny because everybody talked about that being such a shocker Did y'all finally hear my dog bark? That was loud.
The littlest bark.
Yeah, but it's
He
not
barked
as
really loud on my end.
But it was like
my
not even
microphone's
close.
just
Yeah,
good.
not even close to mine. So,
Yeah.
He just has FOMO, and the cats are playing right now, so he wants
he wants
to
to
be
have-
in on the action.
Does your
Anyway.
duck plays with your cats, by the way?
He loves playing with one of them. The other one hates his guts. It's
Okay.
Felix. You would
Of
expect,
course.
you know.
Yeah, of course.
The other one, Raspberry, is like, I can outrun him. I'm gonna jump around. We're gonna play. But then if he gets too crazy, I'm gonna zip out from under the bed. And
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
anyway, yeah. So Peace Walker.
yeah, and if people don't realize that that's a real Metal Gear Solid 5, Peace Walker. It's like there's a legit story. Like the actual Phantom Pain could have been Metal Gear Solid 6 if you wanted to, like legit, because Peace Walker is really important. So
If they had put Peace Walker on anything besides the PSP, and then not including the HD re-releases, but that could have easily been
oh yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, that's why they didn't. That's why they didn't put it. They didn't put that number in because the PSP just wasn't popular. But Kojima really wanted to make a handheld game, and that was one of his
So good,
deepest
though.
games. Somehow, you could argue it's even better than Phantom Pain in many respects, at least in story. So, and how condensed it is. Like,
Definitely better in story.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, gameplay
Portable
obviously-
Ops had a better story than
then Phantom
Metal
Pain.
Gear Solid 5. That was
Yeah.
legit, like great cutscenes, great art, everything. I loved that game.
CD Projekt Red showing up here. I wonder if they show Phantom Liberty here. We heard that they were showing it in June. Maybe that's where they're gonna show this expansion.
Probably.
Yeah, they'll probably
Yeah.
show it off here because they're obviously not going to talk about their Witcher project because
No,
it's still
it's
in
too
the
early.
oven. It's way too early.
Yeah, we just heard about like those projects like just a couple months ago. It feels like. So, the Volver, like whatever weird crap they put out, maybe like the expansion for Cult of the Lamb. Like
well,
they showed
Call
more.
of the Lamb just had a big the old gods or ancient gods or whatever. Old gods. That's Doom.
Yeah.
That's Doom.
I know a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about the fact that Disney and Square Enix being there means Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts.
Kingdom
which
Hearts. Yeah.
sounds like copium, but
Yeah.
also they're kind of up for talking more about whatever Kingdom Hearts 4 is supposed to
Yes, they have to because
know
Final
there's
Fantasy
a
16 is
Kingdom
about
Hearts
to come out.
mobile game, right?
be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to talk about.
Maybe.
It's most likely. I don't like the direction that whatever they're doing for Kingdom Hearts 4 looked like at first, so I'm kind of like, this might be my stepping back on the train, prepared to jump off opportunity. I don't know.
I doubt
It's
it.
fair.
Yeah, then you'll see it. You're gonna see Sora with Star Wars, with Star Wars, and then you're gonna be all in.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because this is their opportunity for the Final Fantasy and Star Wars stuff. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it is with Focus. And let me see. Focus. I can't think of anything that they could show up there. Maybe just weird new stuff. Gearbox. Maybe anything Borderlands related or Godfall related. Who cares? So Larian. Maybe more Baldur's Gate 3. They could show.
Probably.
Oh,
They could
yeah,
show
that's
there.
definitely going to be.
Actually, Square Enix is probably, they're probably going to show off some more Final Fantasy stuff. Thinking
Yeah.
about it.
And the thing is that they would be just a week or two away from 16 releasing.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's the perfect time.
Though with Sony
Final
having a show, but with Sony having a showcase, how much of
Sony
that?
will probably show it off,
Yeah.
not Square.
Yeah, and even though they're making PlayStation gonna be showing here, maybe they're gonna do the thing they usually do, that the Kojima stuff is gonna be here, like that another Death Stranding 2 trailer.
Probably.
I would like to see some gameplay. See what's changed, what new stuff is going to be available.
Yeah, it would be the right
Just
time.
Just watch. This game is going to be drastically different from Death Stranding 1. It's going to be...
I mean,
it's going to be like bananas as hell.
That'd be insane if he actually like completely shifts with the
But
sequel.
that would also be the most
would.
Kojima thing ever.
Yeah, because every game he always changes
Yep.
all the time. So
There's never been just an evolving of what it is. It's like
This man
now it's
wants to make
completely
movies. Let him make movies.
different. Yeah.
no, but you say that, but then their games have insane depth. That's what's so funny.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just how his brain is. This guy is crazy.
yeah.
Anyway,
So,
Like
yeah,
Kojima would make terrible movies because they'd be too deep or too
Yeah.
long.
yeah. They would be the kind of movies Zack Snyder thinks he makes. Like
Yes.
an intellectual.
Hey, like I said the other day on Twitter, people think the story's deep, but the plot holes
are deeper.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm excited. We're finally getting back to that season, Paul, and at least we know that we may have like an actual Sony showcase to kick it all off. Like last year was the State of Play, so this time it may be a showcase, and then we have all of this. Because of when you work, you won't be able to watch it live, unfortunately. So I was talking with our buddy Sebastian that I might do a reacts with him for that one. So you could join in if you can, Duchess, if you're not working that day. Usually this showcase are on a Thursdays. So
yeah.
I mean,
there's some mix-ups going on at work, so we'll see. Happens. We'll see what happens.
So that concludes the news for this week's episode. Paul, read the few releases for the week of May 14 to May 20.
Begets. Oh wait, the link is in front of my releases. All right, we have a real whopping phone book today, and it is Humanity on PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR 2, PlayStation 4, PlayStation VR, PC on May 16th, Firmament on PC and Mac on May 18th, and Lego 2K Drive on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on May 19th.
Humanity is the game from the Tetris guys, the Res Infinite and Tetris Effect that we saw at the last State of Play, that had all the people moving in and
the puzzle game.
Yeah, the puzzle game, and it's on PlayStation Extra, coming out
nice.
Coming out next. So that could try it.
Not playing anything but Tears of the Kingdom, but
exactly. So it's a very smart for nothing else to come out the week after Tears of the Kingdom, even though it's like
Humanity locking in that PlayStation Extra, getting a little bit of money for nobody having to play the game.
Exactly. So, are you interested in any of these three, Duchess?
Firmament looks interesting. I forgot that game was coming out because it's made by the same people who made Myst.
Mm-hmm.
And Myst is a classic.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah,
and I heard
it's a steampunk themed game too.
And I heard fun stuff about Lego 2K Drive. I mean, it's fun for the people that love Legos and want to do like a driving game, like a car game for that. So yeah. But yeah, Humanity, I'm definitely gonna try, like just out of curiosity, because I love Tetris Effect and I love Res Infinite. Especially like I recently got the $5 upgrade for both of them from PS4 to PS5 to have them in the as natives in my console. So
nice.
Let's see how that is. And with that, we reached the conclusion of this week's episode. So Paul, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I've been posting a lot of just me breaking games or really silly things going on lately. I think the latest was Jedi Survivor, of course. Yeah. Obviously can't really do that easily on the Switch with Tears of the Kingdom, so I'll probably just disappear for a minute. Man, it would be nice if you could just save gameplay segments.
No, you can. You can save gameplay segments.
How easily?
So you have to hold you have to hold the button and uploading them is
share button.
Yeah, you have to hold the share button and then send it to like a weird link and then you extract it from the phone and then you can share it. It's like an extra step.
Doing that.
Yeah, it's an extra step.
I'm not doing that. The only reason I do it as it is because it takes one button press to save the last 15 seconds, and then I just put in a cute little caption.
Wait. No, never mind. I think there's a direct Twitter link. I could be wrong. Because I've seen people like share that like directly.
If it's there, I'm gonna use it because Tears of the Kingdom probably is gonna have a lot of great stuff, but I'm not gonna go too far out of my way for it either. So I hopefully it'll be pretty simple because I feel like it'll be some good material.
Duncan, where can people find you?
You can find me at just Devilish Duchess on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's mostly just shit posting and me posting random things.
Yeah. And that's A-okay.
Once life figures itself out and becomes a little more scheduled, I'll probably start streaming and I'll probably post those on Twitter as well.
Awesome. You let me know when. And, and then you can find me at _Segovia on Twitter, at Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram, and my written content currently at seasongaming.com, and eventually, once again, at thecriticalcorner.com. And with that, we only have 4 hours left, Paul, for Tears of the Kingdom. Let's see.
I have 4 hours to beat Jedi Survivor a second time.
Yeah.
And to make dinner.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm 100% about to go to Walmart dressed as a giant gray cat
I love it.
So, you know.
Rocket, you will not stand out in
No,
Walmart,
not at all.
I'll tell you.
Not out here, no.
Yeah, especially in Louisiana of all places. So
Where everybody walks around dressed as a Final Fantasy character regularly.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that brings the end to the show. So everyone that listens and watches, thank you so much. Always like we're at 101 episodes now with this one. So we're in that new era, Paul, where it's like it's the road to 150 now for the next year. So let's see how soon we can get to that, and hopefully no stoppings with you, like going on like weird vacations or hurricanes as of right now.
I'll warn y'all if I'm actually, that's a good opportunity because at the end of this month, I'm going out of town for a week.
Yeah, so
it is a business forced thing I wasn't expecting, but yeah.
As expected, but good thing is that I got my backups now. So Paul, always a pleasure seeing you. Always a pleasure seeing you, Duchess, and hopefully we'll play Destiny again soon. Whenever I feel like it, like I'm not as jilted
Hopefully
as far as that
next
game.
season is gonna be good. I do love me some deep ocean nonsense.
Yeah, and new dungeons. And everyone else, thank you so much. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remember,
Press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.
Adios.